Welcome to the TMC Newsroom on the road. Thanks for watching. My name is Rich Tehrani. On our program is Susan Vandament, and she is the Director of Business Development at XKL. Susan, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So XKL, what do you guys do?
So XKL makes dense wavelength multiplier. We make DWM devices.
Awesome.
Do you know about it? DWDM lighting dark fiber.
I'm very familiar with those devices. So in terms of what's happening with the broadband explosion and just the proliferation of new fiber being rolled out, I imagine that's amazing for your business.
It is hugely amazing. In fact, our company exists really entirely to light dark fiber. So from just a fundamental mission, we absolutely, our founder is Len Bozak, who was the Cisco founder and CEO for many years. And after he left Cisco, he really wanted to focus on some other things that were very innovative and exciting. And has come up with the last 3 years primarily, we've been providing equipment that helps people, enterprise networks primarily, light dark fiber. And we would love to see a lot more dark fiber exist. And we would love to see a lot more businesses and governments and many other institutions that need massive bandwidth take advantage of it.
Now, I was thinking that you would be supplying carriers mostly, but you said enterprises. So is it for campus networks?
We do a variety of different things. So we really look at it in terms of people who need private fiber optic networks. So the users of the actual bandwidth, more so than the providers who sell the bandwidth, if that makes sense.
Got it.
So we do metro area. That was where the company spent a lot of its initial time focused. And now we see a lot of these more regional, I wouldn't call them long haul, but it's much more regional applications, longer distances than just traditional metro.
Like Allied Fiber, for example, right?
Exactly. We've actually come out with some really interesting new data. We took the Allied Fiber path, did some modulations, and figured out some amazing kinds of results where we can take our regular DWM equipment, actually put some inline amplification, and come up with industry, I think, leading low latency.
And is that your area of differentiation, is in the latency, reducing it?
It's one of the many, yes, it's actually fundamental. We really look at things we make it elegantly simple. So the products that we design are really using new ways of physics, optophysics, if you will. And so it's simple, light in, light out, and so that the actual data can process through much faster.
Now, when you say physics, is optical processors, things like that?
Yes, we do a lot of, part of the design that makes us very unique is that we actually take everything that's necessary to create a DWDM device and package it, integrate it into a 1RU box. So all of the lasers, we do redundant power, redundant fans, the lasers are hot swappable. So it's really about how do we use the physics better, and actually how do we take the design and make it more integrated, smaller, faster. What it ends up becoming is then an opportunity to be a very low power consuming device and a very low space, kind of taking device.
And that's important just because you need so many of them probably in data centers?
No,
and
actually if you think about our devices come populated with 10 lasers. So they come as a 100 gig box, 10 waves in each box, and then a 1U device. And if you think about it, then the data centers are running out of room. So we're thinking that as they run out of real estate and they're also running out of power, then our devices really don't take up much of either of those.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
We're having great success with it.
Now, in terms of the success that you mentioned, are you seeing a lot of it outside the U.S., inside the U.S.?
It's fascinating. And Hunter and I talked about this last year when we met in London at the Dark Fiber, Hunter Newby.
Hunter Newby,
with
and
the
that's
Allied Fiber.
Exactly. Right, CEO of Allied Fiber.
We're finding that outside the U.S. there is a proliferation of dark fiber available. It's open access, people are getting it, they're now looking at what can they do with it. So we get an awful lot of interest outside the U.S., which is great, but we'd love to see some of those same things happen. We get a lot of interest in the U.S., but it's really a little more difficult because you don't have as much dark fiber available.
Sure. The carriers want to sell it lit.
Carriers want to sell it lit, or they don't want to sell it at all. And so we'd really love to see that kind of more open access so that people can actually have dark fiber and then light it and control their own optical networks.
Now, since you are focusing on the low latency aspect of the business, is that an implication that you're at the higher end of the cost scale?
Not at all. In fact, one of our founders' biggest mantras is take it to the masses. And so how can we pack as much as possible into these boxes and integrate that so that anyone can use it? We end up being incredibly affordable, somewhere in the, $16,000 per 10 gig.
Wow.
So it's an amazing proposition.
Sure. So you have some new products coming out that you want to talk about?
We do. So we started off with just the optical transport systems themselves that were meant for metro networks. And then we found with different sorts of preamps and boosters we could extend that range to a couple of 100 kilometers. What we've now come up with are some inline amplification devices, some systems that actually then extend that range so that we can go up to about 2,000 kilometers right now. It's an amazing thing
Wow.
with inline amplification.
Wow, that's impressive. So that, and the alternative to that would be?
The alternative to that for
having that kind of range of amplification would be to set up repeaters?
Absolutely. Repeaters, and then you're talking about
60
much
miles,
larger
120
devices.
miles, depending on technology?
Depending on the technology. I think we're at about, probably 60 miles.
It's excellent.
So it's actually pretty cool. We're finding a lot of uses in, the economy and the proliferation of broadband growth is certainly helping. We're finding a lot of opportunities to help people who are doing their broadband installations, the middle mile and the last mile.
Now, if someone who wants to find out more and buy some boxes from you, where do they go?
They go to our website, which is www.xkl.com.
Awesome.
It's very simple.
Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.